I'm making a mess now. I'm getting it everywhere. I'm running out of clean fingers. I did get a new pump pressure assembly, pressure release, spraying piston, and washer and actual retaining bolt, nut housing, threaded housing, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't find mine. I dug through everything. Decided just to go ahead and order a new one. The next day, I found it. So I have a spare now in case this one acts up, but this one should be good to go for the rest of the life of the car. The only thing I didn't change out so far on the oil system is the pump gear set and the gear housing itself. So very hard to find. If I start having oil pressure issues, then cover's going to come off, and we'll have to deal with it at that point. But not gonna do anything for now. It's bottom is buttoned up, needs to cure. As soon as my new hex head screws come in, these are going to come out, and it's going to get all new stainless, just like this one right here. I actually needed those for another job, so I ended up using all but two that I had. So everything that I'm trying to get stainless, so that I don't have to worry about the heads rusting apart. They're a lot stronger torque wise as far as shear on the actual head than say the zinc plated mild steel. Even the 10.8 heads are softer than the 3/16 stainless. Well, after several weeks of waiting, from a part from Sweden, made in Denmark, surprisingly, these actually are still in stock somewhere. I found for a relatively good price, really good price, a non-turbo oil filter adapter, oil filter mount, connector pipe, whatever they're called these days. Since the other one had a stripped out screw, and I ended up drilling into the housing trying to get that screw out. So I now have a new one and a new filter. I think this was $26 from Saab parts, which is surprising considering it's a cast and machined part, but yeah. Maybe they have a lot of them in inventory. Maybe I need to bring some into the US. I don't know. There aren't that really that many non-turbos though, so once I do decide to boost this thing, obviously I am going to have to change that out to a B234R with the cooling line adapters on it. But for now, I just want to get this one done, normally aspirated, break it in, make sure it's running well. I don't have any issues with compression or fuel. I mean, the only thing that I haven't redone at this point is the cassette and the ignition cassette. Oh, let's see here. That's it. Everything else has been gone through. The cams were not cut. You really can't do that. They didn't need it to be polished. They did have some hardening on them from mileage, from the heat. That is a new water pump. So, yeah, I think headers are original. Everything on here is original, but the water pump, the bearings, the seals, tensioner. That is a used power steering pump because the other one was rusted into the bracket and I could not get the screw out, so I saw that video. If not, go check it out. I had to actually break these ears off to actually get it out of that mount. Starter's been rebuilt. I checked the bearing for the mid bearing there for the front wheel drive. Axle to the right side. New thermostat housing, new thermostat. Part and polish on the header, on the intake header. I'm not doing that to the runners because they're so freaking long. It makes no sense to do these because of how long they are. They're really, really long, and there's actually a decent amount of surge space in this tank, so if I can get it up here. So, I mean, you've got 9, 10, almost 14 inches of runner into a surge tank. So the main thing that I wanted to do for these, being the actual intake header, is to make sure that coming into where the injector is, there's no side turbulence to affect the mixture. That should be a linear flow going straight in, laminar flow, which you really can't have that in this setup anyway because it's not straight. But enough linear flow with no swirling on the side so that it's an even. The air going in is an even cylinder, at least towards the top where the injector sprays down into the airstream. A lot of people say that's a waste of time. I mean, it's not a high performance engine. Well, you won't notice a difference on the dyno and you won't notice a difference in your foot, but you will in mileage, in fuel consumption. It should be a little more stable with the fuel mix, with the charge going into the head. So one way to find out. Although, now I don't really have anything to compare this to because I really don't have a control before and after at this point. So for me, it's a peace of mind knowing there's no casting flash to affect anything right there at the injector. Only reason I did it. Definitely not needed. These cars run for thousands and thousands of miles without any issues, without touching anything on it. But, do whatever you want to do. This is what I wanted to do, so I did it. Same thing with the starter. I could have bought a new starter. I wanted to take it apart and rebuild it, so I did. And I didn't have to buy a new one. That one works just as good as a new one. Now that everything has been cleaned and greased. Next up, oil filter is going to go on. And then fuel system is going to get buttoned up before the intake setup is put back on. And I'm not going to put everything back on. I'll probably put the connector pipes on and the surge tank and throttle body and all that's going to stay off for now. Have me a little more room up top up here to wiggle the engine when I reinstall it. So the cross coolant pipe there has been thoroughly cleaned of rust and has had a high temperature paint coating, header paint basically, put on it to help prevent any additional external rusting. Some of it did get rubbed off during installation, but I'm not too concerned about it. I'll probably come back and hit that with some flat paint just to make sure that we don't have little pinholes start. Then the AC compressor, I have a used one. Mine does not engage, so I bought a used one with a good mag coil, and as you can see, it's green because there's so much dye coming out of the oil in it, so I'm gonna have to flush that and get all that dye out. And then we'll clean that one up, and that'll get reinstalled. I've already washed down the alternator. I'm debating whether or not I want to wire wheel it. It's kind of heavy, and I really don't want to take that out to the shop and buff it, but that really is going to make everything look ugly if I don't do something to that. So I probably will do something to it, even if it's to paint the fan blades on it.